What's up? Welcome to everyone watching. Thank you for joining our first Code Along live stream with Casey and Carlos. Hope everyone is doing well today on a Monday. I think the keyboard might be clickety-clackety too much. Maybe. No, I don't know. It's fine. We're live. Let's make it happen. Do you want to... Yeah, you want to switch over screens? This is recording, right? Yeah. All right. So we would love to welcome everyone who's joining and to those who watch this video in the future to our first ever Code Along with Carlos and Casey. We are co-founders of Hatchfi. Very happy to have you all here. And today we're going to be using Hatchfi's API and link system. And thanks to Casey, we have pretty much a open source style crypto portfolio tracker that was built as our sandbox testing tool that we'd like to share and teach people how to build. Casey today will be doing, I guess the agenda today mostly between us both is kind of just reviewing, if you haven't created an account, please go ahead and create an account at app.hatchfi.co. You can get your project keys in there. It's very simple. Sign up, get a verification email, head over to a projects tab, and then go ahead and create a project. You'll get, yeah, we'll walk through it. So you'll get your keys today. For those who are testing and for those who watch this in the future, again, that's how you get your keys. And just follow along. Pretty much, Casey, you set this up to like just very, very simple to set up and pretty much a good baseline to build a really advanced crypto tracker at this point, right? Nice. Yeah. So what are we gonna do first? We're gonna kind of go through the dashboard, get the keys, and then we'll do a fresh set. Oh, Casey, just confirming. I don't know if they can hear you.
Oh, I think I'm good now. I think my mic was muted on the streaming software. So
Yeah, we got it now.
okay, so I'll just do a quick recap. Basically, the Hatchfi Quick Start, this portfolio tracker that we built here. It's open source. You can contribute to it. You can pull it down, fork it, do whatever you want to it. The only thing you'll really need to do is head over to app.hatchfi.co, sign up, create a project, put those into the env files that we've created, and the project will run. So you'll be able to create whatever you want. And we're going to kind of go through those steps. We're going to start from actually having a fresh account, which we're creating here. And we'll go through the verification process and how that works and how to actually create a project. And yeah, so we'll get started, and feel free to follow along and ask questions. Carlos is watching the chat.
Yeah.
And
I'm watching the chat, and I'll be doing community support and answering any. If you guys have any questions outside of this, like technical infrastructure questions on how the API works outside, right after, we'd love to discuss all of that. So
we'll go ahead and sign up. I am not going to remember that. So we've sent a verification email over to my Casey at Hatchfi email. We'll get a nice little email here. Looks just like this. You'll just hit verify email address. It's going to open up a new tab for you with the verification token. Once you're verified and in, you'll be able to actually kind of read through our stuff. We have our roadmap, feedback loop that we follow along with, some of our developer documentation, our company blog, and our Discord, of course. So we'll create our first project, and we'll just call this for today's purpose, Hatchfi demo, just like that. We don't need a redirect URL for today, but you can put this in there, and what that'll do is if you set the redirect to true, your link will redirect your users back to whatever you set here. We will add a little picture here so we have something fun to have. And that uploads, and we'll create the project. So what we have here now is that we have a project created, we have our client ID, API key, and our secret key. And the secret key is very important to note down right away, because if you don't do this, it'll be gone for good and you have to create a new project and kind of cycle your keys. We can also help you fetch this key if needed. So what we'll do is we'll copy these down and we'll add them to our, actually we're gonna leave this page open. Now we're gonna head over to GitHub and pull all of our projects down that we need. So we'll head over to our GitHub and we'll go ahead and clone this. So I have a terminal open ready to go. So git clone. We'll paste our link in there and then we will code our quick start just like that. And this will open it up into your preferred IDE. For me, it's VS Code. That's what we use here at Hatchfi. And yeah, we'll get started. So first things first, we have our project structure here, and this is a mono repo. So we have the server and the front end living together. In a realistic production environment, you might have this, you might not. So just if you're following along with this project, it's all in the same thing, and I'll kind of go over how we operate here. So we'll open up a terminal, and we'll want to split the terminal. So on Windows, it's Control-Shift-5 once you're selecting in the terminal, and on a Mac, it's Command/, I think /. So what we'll go ahead and do is open up this env sample and actually copy and paste this up into a new env. So what we'll start doing is create an env. So it's .env, creates an environment folder or a file for us. We'll copy over these required things. And since we're using Vue and Vite for this project, you'll notice that all of our environment variables have Vite underscore. That's required for the import to actually pick them up. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll leave our localhost server the same because that's what it'll run on default here. If you end up changing the port or changing it to your own, make sure you change it here. And our client ID from the dashboard we'll go ahead and grab. So go ahead and grab this. To our dashboard, and we'll copy this down. And there's our client, all done. Now inside the server, we're gonna want to do the same thing. So we'll go in here, we'll create a new file, call it .env, and we'll copy the sample over as well. And we'll paste these in again. So put our client here, and I like to put them in quotations, but you don't actually have to. Here's our API key. Whoops. And our secret key. And that's done. So now what we can do is start to install all the things that we need to do. So inside of our quick start, the basically I'd say the base repo, we would just run npm install. So npm I in the terminal. And then we'll want to cd into the server in our second terminal that we've opened up, the split terminal. And you just do that by cd into server. And once we're there, we'll also run npm install. And you'll notice that we'll pick up a couple different packages. And now these are ready to run. So so our server comes with nodemon, which will keep this running if you make changes to the server without having to restart the server. So we'll do npm run dev, which is what we have set up as our run command on both repos, both projects here. You'll notice that we're listening on port 3003 is what we set in our environment variables for the front end. So npm run dev, and you'll notice that we're up and running. So let's pull this open, and we'll get started with our portfolio tracker template. So just like that, we've done really nothing except for add our private keys in, our security keys, and we're really here. This is it. Now we're working. To get a quick feel and test of how this is going to actually happen. So we start you off with some predefined keys, addresses that we use for development. These are just randomly pulled off of the CeeLo Explorer, the Ethereum Explorers, so on and so forth. You could add in whatever you want. But for this use case, we'll just go ahead and grab the CeeLo. We'll hit connect. It's going to open up our modal. This is called Hatchfi Link. So you as the developer have full access of how you want to present this. You could send them to a external tab, a new window. You could pop it open in an iframe like we do here. It's completely up to you. And you could also use this with what we call a headless version, where you access the API, or that you access Link through the API. So we'll go ahead and connect with CeeLo just to show you all how it works. Search CeeLo. Go ahead and paste that address in there and hit connect. And you'll notice that we get a connection successful it's going to, oh, it looks like it brought us to the wrong spot. I'm gonna have to fix that. We can fix that right now in our code. So we have a redirect issue happening here. So let's go ahead and tackle this. So in our front end, we have two components. So if you go to the source file and you go to the component level, we'll see connect hatchfi.view and hatchfi data. So what we're looking to look for in here is just look for any link that's not appropriate. So we obviously have a dead link in here somewhere, and it's sending us to the wrong place. Looks like we don't have any localhost issues there. So we'll just keep on debugging this until we can get it working, because what we want to happen is we want our structure to the API to return data to us that our backend's pulling in, and then push that to the front end. But you'll notice that we got redirected somewhere. So we want to just make sure that the redirection is going to get fixed, and we'll look for that now.
So while he's looking for that, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. For those who are just showing up, we have built a white label portfolio tracker for crypto. We use this actually live on our sandbox. So if anyone wants to test, it's demo.hatchfi.co. Feel free to check it out. This is what it looks like in action while he's editing the URL. Just put it in the chat. So please feel free to check it out. So far you can download it at our GitHub. You can get the code, make the modifications. I'm also going to post in the tutorial here, which is in our docs. That is a written out version of what we have done.
Yeah.
Get that right here. Again, you do need an API key, secret key. You can get that from the app.hatchfi.co if you haven't already. Feel free, head over there. It's free to sign up. Get 100 connections free. Please feel free to mess around. We'd love your feedback as well. And just while he's, is there anything you see, Casey?
Not yet. I'm not entirely sure why it sent us to the 05, but it's okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, good to do it live.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for those who don't know, we just recently released 265 total integrations. So we now support, with the help from Wallet Connect, we now support balance and transaction data, all structured, all consistent, all done up beautifully, pulled in from across about, let's say, I believe it's 8 blockchain protocols in entirety. So in total, we support about 230 wallets, and then the rest are actual protocols where you could paste the address into, and exchanges. So we support Coinbase, Kraken, KuCoin, all the major exchanges. We pull in all that structured data and clean it up for tax platforms, for any platform who really wants to consume the data. A lot of fintech, but especially like crypto lending, wealth management, portfolio tracking, things like that. So just an idea of what you can do with the platform itself.
So
Zillow, there it is.
yeah, so real quick, looks like they don't have any more data, so we don't so the array came back as an empty array, and this didn't actually check for an empty array, so it just assumed that there was something in there. So it's trying to loop through something that possibly didn't exist on this address. So we might switch this address out, and how I figured that out is just by looking in our DevTools. We looked in the console, and we noticed that it can't read the property of balances. So I knew how to debug that by heading into our application, looking for balances, which, because I wrote this, I know exactly where to look. It's in our Hatchfi data, and you'll see here we do a for loop through these balances accounts, if any. It probably came back as an empty object or a null object, which it shouldn't, but we'll take a look at the data in just a second. Which means that they probably don't have any balances. Yeah, so that's fixed. We basically put a conditional here that says if this doesn't exist, if it's not there, just skip over it, and that's fine. So we'll do one with like a Ethereum account or something and test that. But this is the end result. You'll have some balances here if there were any balances to be had, and this is the portfolio tracker.
So Casey, could you explain if we were to say, like, if someone wanted to add another column, for example?
Yep, that's
how simple it is, and then we can like just show them. So we can show them the data that we have, that we actually parse out on Insomnia, and then just so you know, this data that you see here is only like a 5% of what total data we pull from the chains, exchanges, and wallets themselves.
Yep.
So there's tons of data. We also parse it out in fiat. So we look at market data and exchange currency in fiat for USD, and that allows us to parse out the data and actually match the cost or the price in USD to the actual transactions and that took place up to since the beginning of the wallet time. So it's pretty cool.
Yep. So let's do a quick look here in the code. I've actually added a prompt for you guys here on line 30 in Hatchfi data file to actually add or remove a row. So we can do that by adding basically copy and pasting one of these table head columns. And what that'll do is just add another column into that table that we have there, and we could add something like, let's say, the date, for example. So our dates come always in a millisecond timestamp. So big long number, you'll have to convert that to a date and convert it to a string. And we do that just so it's standardized across the entire universe of our platform. So we'll grab this, we will paste that below my comment here, and we'll just call it date for now. We could make it a more appropriate name kind of as we move forward. And we'll want to do the same thing down here in the actual column section for data. So we actually have the table data here, and we'll copy and paste one of these as well. And what we want to do, just purely here because I know what our parts look like, but you'd want to consult our documentation to know what these parts look like when they come in, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But we know we want something from the transaction, and we know we want confirmed at, because that's our date. We have confirmed at and initiated at, and typically those are the same because blockchains work really quick. On some slower chains, the confirmed at could be 2 or 3 milliseconds behind, or even a couple minutes behind, depends. So we'll grab that real quick. We'll go here and we'll notice that it gets hot loaded. We get our timestamps here, and we see here that we have this crazy number that's in milliseconds. So how do we convert that to an actual date string? JavaScript makes dates kind of confusing, but kind of fun at the same time. So you copy that, you go to new date, we want to paste that value in here. And for our use case, it's more important that we see the exact timestamp. So, an hour, minutes, seconds, as well as the overall date. And to do that, we could do a local time string, and we'll save that, and we'll notice that it's at the time stream. And then to get everything to local, I want to say it's this one, but I'm not 100% sure without looking at the documentation. Yeah, so we can combine the two to get to maybe it's just local string. Yeah, there we go. So it's to local string will give us both the date and the timestamp when it happened. So you'll notice that it's purely dynamic. Right now it's going from a descending order, so most recent down. You could kind of adjust this how you'd like. You'll see how we do it in the code when we pass this. If you want to take a quick look, we do this down here in the data before we emit it. Might be done in our server actually, now that I'm looking at this. But yeah, so this is where the modal actually comes up, and we'll kind of go over this in a second, and I want to just kind of step through this. But that's how we add a row, or a column rather. And let's do a quick refresh and take a look at, yeah, it's pretty sweet. So I'm going to take a look at how we actually structure the integration for Link, so you could see how we do it. So starting in our connect Hatchfi folder, and if you hit Command P or Control P, you could open this up by typing connect, and it'll open it right up for you, so you don't have to mess with the file structure, not the folder structures. And so you'll notice in here that we have a couple different things that we've predetermined for you. We have the user ID, we have our constants that we get imported from our env file, our server base, and the client ID. And it's important to note that we don't ever surface our API key or our secret key from the front end. We don't want to do that because that will compromise your account. People can read the client ID. The client ID is really just a way for us to tie your developer ID to your users. And the API key and secret key handle the rest. And you want to keep that on the server only. So we have some more predefined addresses, and we set a copy text, and these are just some basic methods to make your life easier when you come in here to start building on this. We have a couple some values here. And if you're not familiar with Vue, this is called a composition API. So what you're going to want to do is open up Vue docs and make sure you're looking for comp API stuff, because it's just a little bit different of a setup if you're using the options API, for example, where you're having a more defined structure as opposed to more vanilla JavaScript.
I'm copying it right now, posting just for those.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Do you mind showing some of the data raw from Somnia?
Yeah, we can pull up Somnia. Give it a second to load itself up.
So while he's bringing up Insomnia, basically we're going to show you the raw data and how we structure it. Just some examples. Walk through it and kind of show you what's going on. You can check out our docs for all the endpoints that we provide. But we do grab, so just as far as this goes, we do grab balances and transaction data from the beginning or the genesis of the wallet or the account that you're pulling in from. What you're seeing here in this particular example is our all accounts endpoint. So this endpoint allows you to pull for a particular user, right? So for an example, if you have our API running in your application and Bob decides to, connect his account through the Hatchfi link, that would be considered a user, correct? And then you would have and a new account created as well. So you would get a user and a new account. Then that same user would always come back and connect another account. We'd assign that account to that user. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing a Sol wallet, an ETH wallet, and then you're seeing, what you're seeing is 3 separate wallets inside of a Coinbase account that's been connected. You can see on the bottom half that we have blockchain, Coinbase, resource, account, right? And we have that ID that you see there at the bottom is it's a unique ID specific to this account that is connected, right? So using that particular ID, you'll be able to successfully pull in additional information on the other endpoints. You can see when the balances parts, you have ticker, provider, right? The name of the blockchain, you have for now, we default to USD for those who don't know. So when we parse this data out, you can see that upper transaction was 1 cent. Or 0.014 in this sense, but still 1 cent. We have logo, balance, and the decimals amounts. Whatever you have within Coinbase or any other, whether you pull through a blockchain or anything like that, is pulled in here. So this is the all account data. If you could show a transaction, if you don't mind.
Yep. So we'll go into here, and we'll go ahead and make it easy. Following our structure, we'll hit send, and it's going to query. Looks like we don't have any transactions for this account. It might not be live anymore, so let's just look at what we have recently. Here's a different one.
Cool.
Actually, this is the same account, I believe, just from our local host. I'm on prod. That makes sense. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So basically, this is another one for prod. So as Carlos was mentioning, this is a full transaction here, and this account has roughly 55-60 transactions in it. So and some, you'll notice here that parts is an array, and that's on purpose because with Coinbase and with some other providers that we offer, they have parts that are broken up into different, there might be 4 or 5 fills on a trade, so you'll have 2 parts per fill, right? So you can imagine that here's one right here that we have 2 of each. So you'll notice that this transaction has 4 parts, 2 are being sent and 2 are being received, and it's where we're selling Solana. So this Solana was being sold. Someone purchased it for X amount of price here, and then someone finished it up here. We received the total amount here and the remaining amount here. We do have fees on that. So they never charge fees typically on what's being sold or purchased. They charge on the purchasing power. So for example, I used USD. I used USD and Solana, so we got 2 different fees here on 2 different transactions. So you'll notice that we have a total of 2 fees that total up to be about, 15-16 cents. And we have data on when the transaction was calculated at, when it was confirmed and initialized at, and the transaction ID, who it belongs to, the user, the account ID, and the type of transaction. And you'll notice here that we have advanced trade fill, and basically all that means is that's very specific to Coinbase. It would be called something different on KuCoin, Ethereum. They're all kind of different. We're working on a way to standardize these things, but for now they kind of are individualized to what provider tells us what information. Yeah, so that's basically how that looks. You'll notice that if we kind of scroll down here, we have a type cell here, which is a multi-part as well, which makes sense because we sold Aleph. I'm not 100% sure what that is, and we received some USD. You notice that we paid a couple fees here, and we have a type cell rather than an advanced trade fill or something like that. So
Cool.
this is the overall structure here. We also have the ability to sync accounts. You have balance history. You have specific balances in transactions, meaning you could, instead of querying a giant array of all 50 in this example transactions, you could query one based on the transaction ID like you see here. A balance history will, I'm not sure if we have any data here, but basically what this does, looks like we do, this is from 4 months ago, is we take a snapshot of when you connect an account and that account is actively connected. We will go ahead and snapshot that account every day and start to store a balance on our end for you to query if you want to build some sort of cost basis or anything like that, based on what information we have. And that's the overall kind of scheme for how we provide data to your applications.
Yeah. Thank you, Casey. Yeah, pretty much all the data we just shown you is all consumable by any application. Excuse me. As of late, working with accounting and tax platforms and wealth management or portfolio trackers, crypto lending for authentication, and there's tons of other use cases that we haven't really got into yet. We're just focusing on those 4, but we'd love to see and learn about what you're building. We're hoping that this demo of the portfolio tracker allows you to quickly get set up and running, so that you can. We'd love to see what you're building, to be honest, and we'd love feedback to improve it. Right? If you have any pull requests, this is live, and you want to do a PR to it, please let us know. We'd love to check it out and allow PR, right, to let people on our GitHub, improve not only the sandbox, but we'd love to, if you're building it on your own and you're adding a bunch of stuff, we'd love to learn about what you're building.
Yep.
And check it out. There's a lot of things you could do with the data and this platform. Again, everything's about consistency, reliability, and structure here. As far as security, we are becoming SOC 2 Type 1 compliant. So if that interests you, for those who are institutions or just require, we should have it by the end of November.
Yep.
At least Type 1, and then moving into Type 2 and ISO 27001, for those who know about that, is next year as well. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions to me. You can contact us at contact@hatchfi.co, or you can contact myself at carlos@hatchfi.co. Please feel free, reach out. And yeah, thank you for joining. Casey, is there anything else you want to provide?
Yeah, so just real quick, if you do contribute to this quick start guide, or you want to build one for us in React or any other front end that you like, or maybe even if you want to do this in Python, feel free to build that for us. We'll give you a really cool role on Discord. Chat with
and a bounty.
Yeah, we'll give you a bounty if you want to build cool stuff for us. Just chat with us. Another thing is, any questions, like Carlos already mentioned, any questions about this, please feel free to chat with us. We're happy to talk you through it.
Yeah, you can join our Discord.
And we're happy to also talk use cases. If you have an idea and you're not quite sure if Hatchfi will solve it for you, ask us. We'll let you know.
We've seen a lot.
Yeah, we've seen it all. So
and if you want to join our Discord as well, we have a developer community there. It is discord.gg/Hatchfi. Feel free to join. We're always online in there. Developer community is in there as well. Love to learn more. Again, if you have questions, support questions, implementation questions, we're here to help. Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you everyone for joining. Appreciate it. And thanks for watching on the live stream.
Thanks everybody. Have a good rest of your week.
Take it easy.